Welcome to New York's number 2 sports show. The New York Rangers defeat the Toronto Maple Leafs 4-1 in a game that Igor Shesterkin was excellent. And the Rangers played a pretty good first two periods, but then Toronto was buzzing in the third. Major zone time, offensive zone time for Toronto in the third, but Igor was up to the challenge. Shesterkin at Toronto, just seems to be a place he thrives against a really high octane offense that's got stars. And Austin Matthews, he had the one goal for the Maple Leafs, but Shesterkin makes 34 saves. Again, to me, he was the story of this game. There's definite positives, to be sure. This was really the first big test of the season for the Rangers. Like I had said, the 4 games prior, not the best teams in the league. Toronto is a bona fide, contending type team. Now, I'm not saying that they're a Stanley Cup contender, but they're a kind of a no bones about it playoff team. And it's been that way for a while, and it's not an easy place to play. Toronto was on a 3-game winning streak. The Rangers go in there and get the job done. And again, it was thanks to the goalie, but as well, the Rangers did what they had to do to pick up the victory. A couple of lineup changes, and one of them, is not a shocker at forward. Rempe replaces Brodzinski. Again, it's kind of a on again, off again sort of situation. And I do think that Brodzinski being currently, but the way that, I don't know, Rempe's usage just isn't beneficial. Like, to me, whether it be when VZ comes back or before that, I would send Rempe down to Hartford. I just don't think that it's beneficial for him to be playing one every 3 games or, and he's not really playing a whole hell of a lot when he's in there. Let's see, Rempe, 7 minutes, 37 seconds, which is not, for him, is actually not nothing. And they were rolling. Laviolette was rolling 4 lines pretty deep into this game. I just think, I don't know, it's not a huge deal. And I think if Rempe can be effective, that would be really good for the team. I just think that, I think it's best for his development that he goes to Hartford. So that's kind of where I stand there. Defensively is more of the surprise move. A defenseman comes into the lineup who hadn't been in there the first 4 games, but it's not Ryan Lindgren. It's actually Chad Ruhwedel. And I guess the reason behind that was that, look, Chad Ruhwedel is on the team. They don't want to sit him out too much. Lindgren's coming back soon anyway. And I guess I wonder why this was the game they chose, but they do. And Zach Jones is actually a healthy scratch. Obviously, it would have been between Jones and Mancini, and I'm glad that Mancini stayed in the lineup. He deserves it. But did Zach Jones deserve to be scratched? I don't think so. And I do think it's a bit of a one-off situation, but it is interesting, coming off of, the Rangers winning home and home against the Red Wings. Usually you stick with the lineup you got, but Laviolette goes through Weedle. And, I didn't think he was great, but he did, I guess he held his own at the end of the day. Ruhwedel, he's a third pair defenseman. It was Ruhwedel on the right side, Mancini on his offside, actually, is what they did. But it was a lot of the top 4, as you'd expect. A lot of Miller Fox, followed by Schneider Trouba, and then Ruhwedel, Mancini. But it's not as if, again, Ruhwedel ended up going 14 minutes. So I would expect next game them to go certainly back to Zach Jones. That would be, if he's a healthy scratch for 2 straight games, that's interesting. And as far as Lindgren goes, he'll be back at some point, but I don't think there's an immediate rush to do so. I don't really disagree with that. So the defense is kind of interesting, and it's sort of who's in the lineup and what are the pairs. The forwards, it's a lot more straightforward. It really is. But for, with the Lindgren injury, it's opened up some opportunities. And a player like Victor Mancini's taken advantage of that. But you can't forget, look, Chad Ruhwedel's not going to sit every game. And so he makes his season debut with the Rangers here. But, like I said, Rangers, this was not a game, for either team where power plays were really prevalent. No power play goals. Again, for 2, like I said, we know the Rangers power play can be lethal as it was versus Detroit, and Toronto's got some heavy hitters. There's no question about that. It was Anthony Stolarz was in net for Toronto, and he was all right. He was all right. He gave up a couple. Really, Chris Kreider ends up with 2 goals. One of them was an empty net goal. In fact, 2 of the Ranger goals were empty net goals. So really 4-1 is, I'll say that right away, very misleading. I mean, it wasn't like that. Rangers were up 2-1 late. But Stolarz was pretty good. Maybe the Lafreniere goal, maybe he wanted to have that back, but even that one was a pretty decent shot by Alexei. But, yeah, look, Panarin, that line was held down a bit, surprisingly. Now, obviously, they do get the Lafreniere goal, so it's not as if they did nothing. But, Panarin's multi-point streak ends, but not the point streak, as he's able to get an empty net goal to extend it, which is kind of funny. Again, and it was the second of the 2 empty net goals. But also, Panarin, if there was such thing as a, what's the right word? Tertiary? Is this correct? Tertiary assist? Or let's just call it a secondary assist. Panarin would have had it on Kreider's first goal. He actually made the play, and then it went from Smith to Zibanejad to Kreider. So either way. But, Rangers, they're a confident team right now. No doubt. And they got some pretty solid depth. I like that Hedl third line. I really do. Even though, goal scoring, I think, it may be a little bit hard to come by for them. But that puck is going to be in the other team's zone more than it's going to be in the Rangers zone. And that is half the battle. And they're doing that. So that third line deserves a lot of kudos because they've, really been effective. And then for the fourth line, look, I think Sam Carrick has been a really nice surprise so far, holding his own, right? Like, this is a player that I don't mind being out there. And we can't always say that about certain fourth liners. And look, my opinion could very well change. It's only 5 games into the season, but I think it's been good stuff from him. And look, when Jimmy Vesey comes back, you would figure that the fourth line would only improve. Although, to be fair with Vesey, I think that he shouldn't necessarily be like, okay, you're in automatically. If he's part of sort of a revolving healthy scratch situation, I'm fine with that as well. But yeah, Rangers, let's discuss it. Let's see here. This was actually the one game that will be played in Toronto this year. The next 2 will be at Madison Square Garden on February 28th and March 20th. So the Rangers won't see the Maple Leafs for quite some time. And again, the one game in Toronto, and it just seems to be the Igor show, to my knowledge, over the last, I don't know, at least 3 seasons, where he has just put on a clinic. And Toronto just, for whatever the reason, can't really seem to get the puck by him with any relative ease. But let's see here. First period rolls around, and I felt like the Rangers, it was a very low event first period, which was fine. Not a whole lot going on. And then they get on the board. It's Alexei Lafreniere's 3rd goal of the season from Trocheck and Mancini at 11:44. So Mancini, after getting his first NHL goal the game before, picks up his first NHL assist. And it was a shot, kind of at the point by Mancini. And it deflects off of Trocheck to the point, like, I think Trocheck was trying to tip it, and the puck ends up loose. Stolarz was unable to get it, and Lafreniere kind of picks up the puck, and he's able to corral it, hold it, and with a nice wrist shot, scores past Stolarz. So, again, Lafreniere, where are we at now with him in terms of, statistics? 3 goals, 3 assists, 6 points in 5 games. And I can't say enough for a guy that is not going to get power play production. So, and look, do I think that there's room for improvement for Alexei? I do, actually. In terms of some of the defensive details, I think he can improve on that. But look, this is as confident as he is just ascending, and it's great to see. So the Rangers take a 1-0 lead. And then at 11:59, 15 seconds later, Philip Hedl draws a penalty. Pontus Holmberg holds him, but the Rangers power play does not score, and 1-0 would be the score at the end of 1. And the Rangers would, in the first, outshoot the Maple Leafs 10-7. Second period, Rangers also getting off to a pretty nice start there, and at 9:08 they cash in. It was actually a delayed penalty on Toronto, and it's Chris Kreider scoring his 4th goal of the season from Zibanejad and Reilly Smith. So Panarin was actually the extra attacker. Panarin makes a pass cross ice that Reilly Smith makes a deft little tip to Zibanejad, and a really nice pass by Zibanejad to Kreider. So that's that connection right there. And so Mika, you know, eye test wise, I don't know. I'm not in love with what I'm seeing, but this is not the game to rip on Mika. I thought there were some good things for sure. More so on the defensive side. I thought he was really sound in his own zone, but Mika with a good pass to Kreider, he buries it and gives the Rangers a 2-0 lead. Then at 12:21, Panarin slashes Matthew Nyes. Rangers kill that off. And then at 15:48, not a smart penalty by Capo Kakko. He high sticks Max Domi. And I noticed Kakko, it seems like, is getting into, for a player that really didn't take many penalties for a while, I don't know. I've seemed to have noticed more lately from him. And that's dating back a little bit too to like late last season. But Rangers kill it off as well. And then at 18:07, with a chance for the Rangers to kind of put not the death blow necessarily against a team like Toronto, but what would have been big. Domi cross-checks Jacob Trouba at 18:07, but Rangers don't score on that power play. So we go to the third period, and early on, Toronto's really getting going. And you can see that. And they're buzzing. And they do score. The one goal of the night that they get is Austin Matthews scoring his second goal of the season from Ekman Larson and Nyes. This was a situation where I believe Keandre Miller, I think, was the reason for an icing. And the Miller-Fox pair has been good, but there's an icing, and it's with the Trocheck line as well. The Maple Leafs win the faceoff, and Matthews gets good body position on Adam Fox, kind of wraps it around the net, and gets a wrist shot by Shesterkin. So, again, that's the situation where what preceded it with the icing ends up kind of coming into full effect on the Toronto goal there. And it is another goal against that Trocheck line. I don't know if they deserve as much blame on this one based on the way it played out, but again, it is something I'm noticing for sure. And then I just felt as if Toronto at some point was going to tie this game. It just felt that way. And even more to the point when Jacob Trouba takes a tripping penalty at 12:25, he trips Austin Matthews. For Trouba, I don't know, it's a thrill a minute. And again, he's not good at handling the puck. He takes a lot of penalties. I get this overwhelming sense that how are you going to win a cup? And we're not going to get into it now. It's early in the season. The Yankees are in the World Series. It's, I just don't see how you're going to be able to win a cup with Jacob Trouba getting real minutes. It's impossible for me to envision that. But anyway, one of the benefits of Trouba taking the penalty is he's not part of the penalty kill, even though I know he is one of technically the top penalty killers. Rangers kill it off. And that was a really good kill. I mean, it was kind of self-inflicted wounds by Toronto. Just they didn't look good on that particular sequence. But eventually, the Maple Leafs pull the goalie. And you know what? The Rangers, as much as the Maple Leafs had really good chances. I mean, William Nylander, that one, like he had a few that come to mind that were just like grade A chances that he just couldn't score. But, towards the end, the Rangers did bear down, and they get one of two empty net goals. The first one being Chris Kreider. It's his second goal of the night, fifth of the season from Zibanejad and Reilly Smith. So that trio is able to connect again on an empty net goal with 1 minute left. And then at the 1946 mark, Artemi Panarin, just because he has to, just because he couldn't go the game without getting a point, he scores an empty net goal, his sixth goal of the season from Cooley and Keandre Miller to give the Rangers a 4-1 lead, and that's the score that they win by. So the Rangers, like I said, 4-0-1, off to a nice start. And next up on this road trip will be and really to end the road trip, is a date with the Montreal Canadiens on Tuesday night. This will be, a game against the Montreal team that isn't great. It's certainly winnable. The Canadiens are 2-3-1. They are coming off of a shootout loss to the Islanders. But there is some skill on the Canadiens. I mean, Cole Caulfield absolutely comes to mind as someone that could call, Nick Suzuki as well. Sam Montembeault has given the Rangers some problems in the past. So we'll see what comes of that, but certainly winnable for the New York Rangers. But yeah, this was good. To beat a Toronto Maple Leaf team in Toronto, granted, it could have been a different fate without Igor, but also I think it's more than fair to give the Rangers their due. They played well. And there's improvements that can be made as well. That's the thing with them. Like, even though they're winning, they're not really playing their best hockey. And yet they're still racking up the points. And now that is 9 points out of a possible 10 for the New York Rangers. So, yeah, that is now 3 games on this road trip, 3-0. and we will see if they can finish it off. Going from Toronto to Montreal to finish off this 4-game road trip. They'll take on the Canadiens before heading home to face the defending Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers. We shall see how long it goes, as the Rangers are one of the few remaining teams in the National Hockey League who have not lost in regulation. Again, your final score in Rangers Maple Leafs in Toronto is the Rangers 4, Toronto 1.